In this episode, we're going to be covering simple and life-changing concepts such as ways to become a good conversationalist, ways to make a good first impression, and even how to criticize other people and not be hated for it. Hey, it's TC Stefani here. Thank you guys for tuning into my channel where I share personal development and life-changing strategies and concepts that help you turn your pain into purpose. How to Win Friends and Influence People was written by Dale Carnegie in 1936, and this book is known around the world mainly for its ability to help and teach people how to interact with people in difficult conversations and how to get them to like you. In this video, we will be covering 5 fundamentals that will teach you how to win friends and influence people. Let's dive into it. Principle number 1, do not condemn, complain, or criticize. Now, simply said, this one is as simple as the words in it. Do not criticize, do not condemn, or do not complain to people. Now this applies to your boss, to your coworkers, to your mom, to your dad, to your brother, to your sister, to your aunt, to your uncle, to your cousin, to your dog, everyone and anyone. We don't want to criticize, condemn, or complain. And I'm going to keep re-emphasizing that throughout the video because it could be one of the most important principles in this book. Simply put, it's a practical principle and it's probably something that we already try to live by on a day-to-day basis. But if we truly ask ourselves if we do live by that rule, most of us are going to figure out that we don't. And I'm not perfect. I'm definitely guilty of it too. But I do my best to recognize it, be aware of it, and create an energy of kindness instead of criticism. Instead of condemning people, we should be trying to understand people, understand their way of thinking, and understand where they're coming from. That is a lot more beneficial and valuable than offering a piece of criticism that doesn't really benefit anyone in the conversation. Now, this is especially true if you're trying to win friends or win over work colleagues or even try to make a point to your boss. We don't want to condemn people for the ideas that they have. We want to hear them out. We want to understand why they're thinking the way they do. So if we can find in ourselves to take an approach of curiosity, of kindness, that is going to breed a much more beneficial and valuable conversation to the both of you. Number 2, arouse in the other person an eager want. Now I know this might sound a little foreign to most of us, but I found a passage in the book, a paragraph, that perfectly sums up this principle. Now I'm reading directly from the book, so it goes as follows. The world is full of people who are grabbing and self-seeking. So the rare individual who unselfishly tries to serve others has an enormous advantage. He has little competition. Owen D. Young, a noted lawyer and one of America's great business leaders, once said, "People who can put themselves in the place of other people, who understand the workings of their minds, need never worry about what the future has in store for them." If out of reading this book you get just one thing, an increased tendency to think always in terms of the other person's point of view and see things from their angle, if you get that one thing out of this book, it might easily prove to be one of the building blocks of your career. Now I don't have too much to add to this one. Mr. Carnegie said it perfectly himself. This world is full of self-seeking, selfish individuals, unfortunately. So it is rare that we find the diamond in the rough, the individual that actually genuinely cares about other people and what other people want. So if we can find it in ourselves to be that person, to be that rare individual, and mind you, you already are. But if we can find it in ourselves to produce an eager want from that other person in that conversation, it's ultimately going to benefit the both of us. Because when we come at it from their point of view, from a place of wanting to help that person with their desire, with their want, they're ultimately going to want to help us back. And remember, if you are that one rare individual who truly genuinely cares about others, you have very little competition. This brings us to principle number 3. Encourage others to talk about themselves and be a good listener. Now, if we want people to talk behind our backs, to shun us, to laugh at us, to make fun of us, then we should probably not listen to them. We should probably talk a lot about ourselves, make all the conversations about ourselves, make it self-seeking. Talk about our vacations, talk about our failures, our criticisms. But of course we don't want that, right? We want people to like us. We want people to be intrigued by us. So, if we don't want people to shun us, if we don't want people to laugh at us, the one thing that we really should be doing is learning how to become a good listener and encouraging others to talk about themselves. Now this is one great way to make friends. If you let the other person talk about themselves. If you're truly, genuinely interested in what that other person has to say, you're bound to make a connection with that person. Now, of course, differences are going to arise in these conversations, and you're even going to find times that you may want to talk about yourself. But we have to keep in mind the goal of these conversations. We are trying to build meaningful relationships, meaningful connections with people, maybe even make a friend. And in order to do that, we have to become good listeners. We have to encourage the other person to talk about themselves. Because if there's one thing that we learned, especially from this book, it's that people love to feel important. And people love to talk about themselves. So encourage it. Ralph Waldo Emerson, a famous poet, philosopher, once said, "Every man is superior to me in some way. In that, I learn from him." And that brings me to principle number 4. We have to make people feel important and do it sincerely. Now, it's important to remember that everyone wants to feel important, right? Including you and me. And it's also important to remember that a lot of people are going through struggles that we can't necessarily see. It might be struggles at home. It might be struggles with their spouse, struggles with a sibling. It could be financial struggles. It could be a health struggle. It could be a mental health struggle. Something that we aren't aware of, something that we can't physically see. So it's important to be kind in our conversations. It's important to be curious in our conversations, to not condemn, to not complain, to not criticize, because we don't know what people are going through. So if you can generate a feeling of importance in the other person, I guarantee you they will kindly appreciate it and reciprocate it in the conversation. And this brings me to principle number 5. Try your best to see things from the other person's point of view. Now this one to me really just talks straight about empathy. Empathizing with the other person, putting your feet in their shoes, and maybe even vice versa. Think about a time, a situation, a conversation where you would have benefited from the other person taking that perspective, from that person trying to fit their feet in your shoes, from taking your point of view. I bet you the conversation probably would have gone a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot cleaner, and with a lot less friction. Okay, to finish it off, I want to read one more excerpt from the book. This is from chapter 8 on page 161. Remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. Don't condemn them. Any fool can do that. Try to understand them. Only wise, tolerant, exceptional people even try to do that. So my word of advice? Try to be that one exceptional person. Okay, that's it for today's episode. I highly recommend you guys pick up this book and give it a read. There were plenty of principles, techniques, practical things in this book that I did not cover in today's episode, so I highly urge you guys to check it out. If you guys want more principles from this book or even more videos like this, leave a comment down below or even suggest some books you'd like me to cover in the future. Thank you all for watching. As always, leave a like, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.